The Appian Way, Rome's greatest road, 200 kilometers long, 71 BC. On this road, 6,000 crosses, and on each one, a man. They were slaves, gladiators, farmers, shepherds, men who 2 years ago had nothing. No name, no rights, no future. They were property. And then one of them said, "Enough." His name was Spartacus. In 2 years, he built an army from nothing, defeated 8 Roman armies, brought the greatest empire on earth to its knees. He stood 200 kilometers from the Alps, 200 kilometers from freedom, for 73,000 people. And he turned back. Today we ask, what if he hadn't? What would Spartacus have done to Rome, the city that took everything from him? And what kind of man was he, that Rome needed 6 legions and its greatest general just to stop him? The Alps are crossed. 73,000 people, soldiers, families, children, pour into Gaul. Free soil. Roman law ends here. Spartacus stops, looks back at Italy, and the first thing he does is not celebrate, is not rest. He sends men back south, to Capua, to one address specifically, the gladiatorial school of Lentulus Batiatus, because Spartacus has not forgotten the man who bought him, who branded him, who decided his life had a price tag, who watched him bleed in the arena and called it entertainment. Batiatus is still there, still running his school, still buying and selling human beings. The men Spartacus sends don't come back with gold. They come back with one thing. And Spartacus buries it quietly, without ceremony, because some debts don't need an audience. Then he turns to the larger accounting. He knows Rome better than Rome knows itself. He has fought its armies, studied its generals, watched where they break, defeated 8 of them, and now, from free soil, he builds. Gaul in 71 BC is not yet Roman territory. The tribes are proud, independent, and they have watched this escaped slave humiliate Rome for 2 years. That carries weight in a world where strength is the only currency. Spartacus approaches the Gallic chieftains, not as a beggar, as an equal. He offers them what Rome never would: alliance, not subjugation. A coalition of everyone Rome has ever wronged. Within a year, cavalry, supply lines, territory, a base Rome cannot ignore. And then comes the question that would terrify every slave owner from Rome to the edges of the known world. What does a man who escaped slavery do when he has an army and a free nation behind him? He doesn't just fight Rome. He dismantles what Rome is built on. Spartacus declares it openly. Every slave who crosses to his side is free. Every Roman estate his army reaches, the slaves are freed. Every chain his men find, broken. Rome's agricultural system runs entirely on slave labor. The great estates, the latifundia, cannot function without it. Within 2 years of Spartacus holding free territory, slaves are escaping en masse across Italy. Not in dozens, in thousands. Because now there is somewhere to go, and someone waiting on the other side. Rome isn't just facing an army anymore. It's facing the collapse of its entire economic foundation. The Senate debates emergency measures. Some propose reform, gradual emancipation, anything to stop the bleeding. The conservatives refuse. And while Rome argues with itself, Spartacus keeps breaking chains. History doesn't record who first abolished slavery. But in this timeline, it begins not with a Senate vote, not with a philosopher's treatise, with a Thracian gladiator who looked at his chains and decided the world worked differently now. But to understand the vengeance, you have to understand the wound. Spartacus was born free. Thrace, what is today Bulgaria. Some accounts say he served in the Roman auxiliary forces, a soldier, trained by Rome itself, taught to fight by the same empire that would one day put him in chains. Then something went wrong. Deserted or captured? The records are unclear. But the outcome wasn't. sold, branded, shipped to Capua, to the gladiatorial school of Lentulus Batiatus. Think about what that moment means for a man like this. A soldier, a free man, stripped of his name, of his wife, of everything that told him who he was, and forced to kill strangers for the entertainment of people who didn't even see him as human. His wife was taken with him. A prophetess, the ancient sources describe her. She told him the day they arrived, "A great and terrible destiny surrounds you." She wasn't wrong. In 73 BC, 78 men escaped that school, with kitchen knives, cooking spits, whatever they could grab. Spartacus led them to Mount Vesuvius. Rome sent a militia to retrieve them, like you'd send someone to round up escaped livestock. Spartacus wove ropes from vines, rappelled his men down the cliffside at night, came around behind the Romans, and destroyed them before dawn. Rome stopped thinking of this as a retrieval mission. Word spread through every field, every mine, every household in southern Italy. There is a man on that mountain, and he fights back. Within months, thousands were coming. Not just fighters, families, old men, women with children on their backs, people who had nothing, walking toward the one man who told them that nothing was not all they deserved. What Spartacus built defied everything Rome thought it knew. No professional soldiers, no supply chains, no siege equipment, farmers, miners, shepherds, people who had never held a sword before someone decided they were property. He organized them anyway, divided them into units, imposed discipline, made one rule that reveals everything about who he was. No gold, no silver in the camp. Nobody fights for plunder here. We fight for something Rome cannot buy. Rome sent Gaius Claudius Glaber with 3,000 men. Spartacus destroyed them. Rome sent 2 more forces, both defeated. By 72 BC, his army numbered somewhere between 70,000 and 120,000, and he marched them north, toward the Alps, toward freedom. Rome mobilized 2 consular armies, the most powerful peacetime force it could field. Spartacus defeated both in the same campaign season. And then, at the foot of the Alps, his own people betrayed the dream. They refused to cross. They had tasted victory, and it had poisoned them with appetite. They wanted Rome, wanted revenge, wanted to burn it all down. Spartacus understood the mathematics. A slave army cannot hold Rome, cannot govern it, cannot feed it. They had no allies, no navy, no treasury. But you cannot reason with 70,000 people who have spent their entire lives being told they don't matter. So he turned south, and the road to freedom became the road to the Appian Way. Rome sent its answer. Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome, cold, methodical, utterly without mercy. He built a wall across the entire toe of Italy, 55 kilometers of ditch and rampart, not to attack Spartacus, to starve him, slowly, deliberately, like you'd contain a disease. Spartacus broke through on a winter night, filled sections of the ditch with earth, timber, and the bodies of horses, got 1/3 of his army out. But the army was breaking apart now, groups splitting off, discipline dissolving. 2 years of victories couldn't hold against hunger and fear and the creeping certainty that this was the end. Before the final battle, one detail, a detail Rome never talked about much. Early in the rebellion, Spartacus had captured Batiatus's estate managers, the overseers, the men who carried the whips, who decided who ate and who starved, who enforced what slavery looked like every single day. Spartacus had them brought before him, made them fight each other, as gladiators, in front of the men they had once controlled, not out of cruelty alone, out of something older and deeper. You made us into this, now become it yourselves. But Batiatus, the man who bought him, was never caught, never faced him, lived, prospered, continued his business. That is perhaps the most painful footnote in this entire story. The man who started everything, who purchased a free soldier and turned him into property, died in comfort. Spartacus died in a field in Lucania without ever settling that particular debt. The final battle came in 71 BC. He killed his horse before it began, deliberately, so that everyone watching, his men, Rome's legions, history itself, would know. He was not leaving this field. He fought toward Crassus directly, killed the general, one last gamble. He never reached him. Surrounded, cut down, his body was never found, never identified among the tens of thousands of dead. The man who shook an empire returned to the earth without a name, without a grave, without even the knowledge that Gladiators ever heard what happened to him. Rome couldn't give him a named grave, because naming him in death meant admitting what he was in life, not property. A man who was right. The crosses stood for months. Rome left them there on purpose. Every merchant, every soldier, every slave who walked the Appian Way had to pass them, had to understand what resistance costs. But Rome miscalculated, because those crosses didn't only speak of defeat, they spoke of 2 years. 2 years in which a man with nothing built something from nothing and made the eternal city afraid. He didn't just fight Rome, he exposed what Rome was. A civilization built on the backs of people it refused to call human. You can crucify a man. You cannot crucify what he proved possible. Every revolution that promised freedom to the unfree, every movement that ever demanded that a human being not be treated as a tool, carried his name forward. Spartacus lost. But the world he fought for, the world where a person cannot be owned, eventually came. It just took 2,000 years longer than it should have. If this story moved you, subscribe, leave a comment below, tell us whose story you want to hear next.